This is the Maverick Report.
Welcome to the Maverick Report, where we bring sports news to you. I'm Jet Nelson.
I'm Alan Mancias.
And I'm Maya Stovall.
There has been some exciting matches in sports, starting with the AFC Conference Championship between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, and including the game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions. It's going to be the Chiefs and the 49ers advancing to the 58th Super Bowl in Las Vegas. In the AFC, it was Patrick Mahomes putting on a show in his sixth straight AFC Championship appearance with 240 yards and a touchdown through the air in the 17-10 victory over the Baltimore Ravens and MVP favorite Lamar Jackson. In the NFC, it was running back Christian McCaffrey who reached the end zone twice as the 49ers scored 27 second-half points for a 34-31 comeback win over the Lions in their first ever trip to the conference title game. Super Bowl 58 takes place February 11th in Las Vegas, and you can watch on CBS starting at 5:30 p.m.
Additionally, the number 1 seed South Carolina Gamecocks flies into Death Valley to take on the defending champs LSU. Carolina, while trailing for most of the game, they were able to outscore LSU in the final quarter 24-14. LSU star Angel Reese fouled out with 4 minutes left as the Gamecocks took advantage and finished with an 11-3 run. Bree Hall hit the go-ahead 3 in the final minute and to remain as the only team undefeated. Chloe Kitts was the leading scorer for the Gamecocks. Carolina has beaten the Tigers in their last 15 matchups with 14 points. South Carolina improved to 18-0 and 6-0 in the SEC, while LSU dropped to 18-3 and 5-2 in conference play.
Lastly, the Dallas Maverick game against the Phoenix Suns was a tough loss against the Mavericks. The Mavericks led the game by as much as 16 points. That is until the Suns went on a scoring surge in the second half, with Devin Booker scoring 22 points in the third quarter. With Kyrie Irving's absence, Luka Doncic scored 34 points, but it was not enough to lead the Mavericks past the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant combined for 78 points, with Devin Booker scoring 46 of the 78. This game sparks the question of who is going to step up for the Mavericks when Luka or Kyrie is not always on the court.
As college sports heats up, we dive into what is happening around the WAC Conference and UT Arlington Athletics. Inside College Sports begins right now. The women kicked off their season with a full sweep against Prairie View A&M Saturday at the UTA Tennis Center. The Lady Mavs are on top of a seeded season that fell short to Grand Canyon in the WAC tournament. Starting off your season with a sweep has to be a good and reassuring feeling, but I think that setting the tone like that could potentially hint towards another great season for UTA women's tennis.
UTA men's tennis are holding the number 1 spot in the conference with the overall record of 2-1. They are the only team with the winning record. Argentinian freshman Andres Medus traveled a long way for his first tennis match. Check it out.
My name is Andres Medus. I'm freshman, like in Argentina. I'm from Argentina. So yeah, I play some tournaments there that are in a high level. So yeah, the transition that I have is from clay to hardcourt. That is not easy because you have to adapt to the bounce of the ball, everything like that. So yeah, with the coaches we are training a lot that type of training. So yeah, the transition is gonna be tough, but we are gonna do. It's a great challenge. So I think that we can do it great. Yeah. Last match it was at Oklahoma, and the excitement there was incredible. But here it's gonna be even better. Yeah.
As spring tennis begins, will the men's tennis repeat as back-to-back WAC champions? Or will it be the women's team for a second straight year as WAC regular season champs? What are you thinking, Jet? Who you thinking, the women, the men, back-to-back? What are we thinking here?
I think it's hard to deny those women who have just twice in a year, 2 years in a row now, just back-to-back national or conference champions. It's just hard to deny that when you have that much talent and the team really staying together. Not a lot of players left the roster this season. Just hard to deny the women right now.
Yeah, and the men's too, winning 2 of their home openers this past Sunday. Prairie View A&M, Southeastern Oklahoma State. Right. It's looking good for the women and the men. I guess we'll just have to see what happens, but so far it's looking pretty good.
Absolutely. You talk about those home games, but they had to go on the road to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Sooners there. They didn't even win a single game in that match. So there's ups and downs that you got to look at there with the men's. So it's all just going to come down very early part of the tennis season so far. And now, as Mavericks men's basketball enters their final stretch of the season, let's recap Thursday's loss to Grand Canyon. Shamar Wilson has the Mavs riding a 3-game home winning streak as they hosted first-place Grand Canyon in front of a huge crowd at College Park Center. The Mavs came out on fire, taking the early 13-10 lead midway through the first half. Dejuan Gordon and Philip Russell led the way in the first half on offense. Then the game got physical with both teams fighting early and often for position. The Mavs led 35-30 at halftime thanks to this beautiful buzzer-beating dunk by Gordon. The second half was a different story as the Mavs dwindled multiple leads, including a 9-point lead, 59-50, with 5 minutes to play. Grand Canyon made a run, putting the Mavs in foul trouble despite Gordon's 6th double-double of the season. The Mavs fall to Grand Canyon 67-61 before hitting the road. And as the Mavericks men's basketball enters the final stretch of the season, here is a look at the current standings of men's basketball on the WAC. Taking a look at everything, you obviously see Grand Canyon up there at the top. Abilene Christian's going to be their opponent if you look all the way up to March and the conference tournament there. But I'm going to take a look at Cal Baptist and Utah Valley. You can't count out the Wolverines over there in Utah. They're only 3-7 in their last 10 games. But California Baptist is only 6-4. However, they are on a 5-game winning streak, so they're trying to turn things around. I think that's going to be a matchup to look out for there. What do you think, Alan?
So as of right now, the number 1 seed is Grand Canyon with an overall record of 19-2. The big difference between this team is that they are undefeated at home with a 10-0 record. And they are very tough on the road as well, as they only lost 1 game on the road. Cal Baptist is a really stickler in this conference as well, giving problems to UTA as well.
As WAC basketball is over a third of the way complete, here is a look at the current standings of women basketball in the WAC as well. Grand Canyon is leading the WAC with 9 wins and 1 loss. Cal Baptist right behind them. They occupy the 2nd spot in the standings, and UT Arlington is 4th with 5 wins and 4 losses. UT Arlington hopes to continue to climb the ranks as they face off against Southern Utah February 1st at home in College Park Center. To go to more depth, we toss it over to Alan.
As of right now, UT Arlington is sitting at the 5th spot. But I'm not really too worried about UT Arlington. I know they came out with a slow start with a record of 9-10, but they have 4 players that are averaging close to double-digit points, and they are really stickler in the paint as they lead the conference in the most blocked shots in the game, as well as Utah Valley and the matchup against SFA. Who do you think? Who do you got there, Jeff?
It's hard to deny SFA there. You know, they're sitting at that 7-2 conference record, 7-3 in their last 10 games as well. They actually just dropped a game at home there against Grand Canyon. Hard to beat them as well. So I'm going to take SFA just in that standard prediction, but you know, anything can happen. That's why we love college basketball. But you know, trying to tune over to the Mavericks here as well. They're going to have a tough stretch of games. They're trying to play Southern Utah now. They're going to be a team in the WAC conference tournament. But looking up at what their current matchup would be, that would be going up against the Utah Tech and their squad that they have there. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games as well. So do not go away. We still have a lot more to break down and discuss. And also, you do not want to miss our game segment.
Additionally, we talk about news around local professional sports. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
STEM is everywhere, like here, behind the scenes of The Walking Dead.
When we break down clothes, we tumble it with trisodium phosphate, rock salt, and dish detergent.
We stitched together images of our model and created a 3D set that can be walked through in a VR headset.
We're able to turn 12 walkers into 1,000 walker hordes.
STEM can create new worlds on and off the screen. What will you make with STEM? Get inspired at shecanstem.com.
Welcome back to the Maverick Report, where we bring sports news to you. Student athletes are the core of every team. Now we spotlight a student athlete who is a big performer and a leader in our community. This week's UTA Athlete Spotlight is Gia Adams. Gia returned to Texas after 2 seasons at Tennessee State, and as the starting shooting guard, she's averaging 12.7 points per game and reached 1,000 career points with a 15-point effort in the loss to Grand Canyon on Saturday. Gia is also a competitor in the classroom as she strives to become a leader in our community with a major in health science.
We cannot just highlight one student athlete. Here are some other impressive athletes that had a good performance. Pedro Sasso from men's tennis had himself a field day on Sunday. Competing in the number 3 double spot, Sasso and Andres Medus dominated against Southeastern Oklahoma, winning the matchup 6-1. Sasso also went solo, sweeping the matchup 2-0 with a combined set score of 12-3.
Shamar Wilson for UTA men's basketball is averaging 12 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, and is shooting 51% from the field. He's having a great and efficient season and seems to be a very key part to the Mavs' success.
And staying in with men's basketball, graduate student and guard Dejuan Gordon had his 6th double-double of the season with 13 points and 10 rebounds against the Grand Canyon Lopes. And his effort there with those 10 rebounds really kept the team motivated throughout the game, even during those tough stretches where the Mavericks trailed by more than 10 points. Let's take a break from all the sports headlines and play a game of this or that. We are coming out hard for the first one. Who would you fire first, Dak Prescott or Mike McCarthy? I'm going to start with Mike McCarthy. You know, they were showing the faces of the Cowboys there. It was in the fourth quarter. They're trailing by more than 24 points, and Mike McCarthy just didn't have a response there for the Cowboys.
No, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with Mike McCarthy as well. I think he basically just lied to Jerry Jones' face. But before the season, when they fired Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, he told Jerry Jones that we need to run the ball more and get the pressure off of Dak Prescott. He clearly didn't do that, as they still threw the ball more than they ran. And then in the playoff game, they depended on Dak, and Dak bit them in the butt, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I can see both sides of the spectrum here. I can see the upsets with Mike McCarthy, but at the same time, people like to say you have to have a confident quarterback. If you don't have a confident quarterback that can lead an offense, then what does that leave you? So I can kind of see both sides, but I'm still leaning more towards Mike McCarthy, so I do agree with you guys on your points. As professional sports evolves constantly, we discuss key topics around the world. Our pro sports segment starts now. Last June, FIFA Federation International de Football Association announced that North America is the host of the 2026 World Cup in various locations, including right here in Arlington at AT&T Stadium. As a result, the city and stadium are having to prepare for the world-famous events. What are the pros and cons of the World Cup coming to Arlington? What do you think, Jed? Let's start with you.
I've really been noticing it seems like half the roads in Arlington are under construction right now. They really have to open up the city infrastructure-wise to get everybody in here. But, you know, it's definitely going to bring that national attention to Arlington, which I think it's been needing for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
One of the positives is clearly the economy is going to completely just bust open, just because everyone's going to come travel here as tourists, trying to watch the soccer. Everyone's going to spend money on drinks, food, everything around Arlington, the hotels. So Arlington's going to see a lot of revenue. It was a sad day for the Golden State Warriors organization, as announced that one of their assistant coaches, Dejan Milovic, died of a heart attack. This was released before the Warriors were scheduled to go against the Dallas Mavericks and Utah Jazz, which was later postponed. As the assistant coach after being hired in 2021, he was in part of the Warriors championship for the 2021-22 season and left a big impact on every player, coach, and staff in the organization. Before the Warriors kicked off their games against the Atlanta Hawks this past Thursday, Warriors head coach Steve Kerr gave a speech in remembrance of Milovic that followed up with an ovation for the late coach. The Warriors went on to defeat the Atlanta Hawks by 22 points.
And just what an incredible feat there for the Warriors. I mean, they're a team that we're so used to competing there at the top of the Western Conference and really the NBA. So the fact that they're still a very humble franchise to point out the loss of a coach, I just think it's an amazing moment.
And yes, you could see the emotions before the tip-off of the game. You would see Klay Thompson crying with his tissue, Draymond. Everyone's very emotional. You can tell how much Milojevic meant to the organization.
I think it's a good thing that the league postponed the games, because, you know, that's just a terrible thing.
No one should have to play through that. Yeah. Absolutely. And coming up, we'll take a look at NBA conference standings, and we'll close out with this week's predictions. Don't go away.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here.
Wait.
What?
I can't drive.
Why?
My.
Oh.
With All-Star break around the corner for the NBA, the Western standings is wide open with the Oklahoma City Thunder holding the top spot lead by newly announced All-Star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his 31 points per game. The Minnesota Timberwolves are right behind them at the 2 spot. Two teams that look to take the lead is Curry and the Warriors down in 12th, and the Mavericks, on the other hand, are 8th, with Luka averaging 34 points per game, as well as 8 rebounds and 9 assists on 48% shooting. The West is getting more and more competitive each game, and it seems like we are in for some good basketball the rest of this season. Now over to Alan for a look at the Western Conference standings.
You know, the Western Conference is deep with teams. When the LeBron James-led Lakers are in the 9th spot, the Dallas Mavericks led with Luka Doncic in the 8th spot as well. The biggest surprise is probably the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are so young and somehow are leading the Western Conference in the number 1 seed. Also with the Timberwolves, Rudy Gobert and their defense have been just a killer on the court. The two big men are locking down the paint as well. One shocker for me with the number 4 seed is the Denver Nuggets, the defending champs at the number 4 spot. Even though Jamal Murray went down with the injury in the mid-season, I still believe that they will be able to bounce back and get the number 1 spot. That's just a bold take from me. As well as the Phoenix Suns, the trios are kind of with Kevin Durant, Beal, and Booker trying to win some more games and trying to get out of that play-in seed and avoid it. Back to you, Jet.
As UTA men's and women's basketball starts a new week, it comes with some new matchups. This week they both play Southern Utah on Thursday and Utah Tech Saturday. As for the women basketball, who do you got starting on that Thursday matchup, Utah Southern or Utah Tech?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go with Southern Utah. I'm gonna go for Southern Utah. I think they can maybe get it done. They just have to really focus, do their homework. You got to have two very competitive teams going back and forth. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I think I'm gonna agree with that pick as well. Normally, when you talk about an underdog in college basketball, they're a team that plays with a lot of fight, a lot of intensity. So it wouldn't be shocking if Southern Utah rises up to take on the Mavericks there. Yeah. And then looking back over to the men's, I'm going to take UTA in that one. I think they're going to be so frustrated after that loss to Grand Canyon. I think they're going to come back, get on the road, and win their first road game of the season.
I agree, and it's important that the UTA men's basketball gets these road games going.
Right.
We got to get some wins, so it's important that they really bounce back and start getting some traction going, some momentum. That's all we have for today for this edition of the Maverick Report.
And don't forget to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel so you never miss a highlight again. I'm Jet.
I'm Maya.
And I'm Alan. Go Niners.
Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.